Hello everyone. Today we are getting into a new topic, and this is 9.5a quadratic formula. So far we've learned that we can find the solutions to a quadratic equation through factoring, and we spent a whole unit on that. We learned how to identify them through a graph, and now we have something called the quadratic formula, and the quadratic formula works every single time. Sometimes when we are looking to factor a quadratic equation, there are lots of cases where you can't actually factor it, and so you wouldn't be able to solve a quadratic equation through factoring. And so anytime that happens, we use what's called the quadratic formula. And then again, this works every single time to find your x values. And so what the quadratic formula is that the real solutions of a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, are x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, where a does not equal 0 and b squared minus 4ac is greater than or equal to 0. So what this is telling us is that the number underneath the radical has to be positive. If I have a negative number underneath, then it's going to be no solution. In other words, b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. And so the a, b, and c, again, that just comes from your equation here. So a is the number in front of x squared, b is the number in front of x, and c is just your number at the end. So let's go through an example. I want to solve 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 equals 0 using the quadratic formula. So when I'm going through this, what I like to do first is go ahead and label what my a is, what my b is, and what my c is. So a, that is the number in front of x squared, so this is 2. B is the number in front of my x term, which here is negative 5. And c is what's being added at the end, and this one is 3. So I like to first just copy down my formula. So opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then now I'm going to go ahead and substitute in my values. So here I have negative b, so instead of b, that's really going to be negative 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so I'm going to have negative 5. I'm going to put that in parentheses. That's super important. Then minus 4 times, now I'm plugging in my a value, so my a value here is 2. And then my c value is 3. All over 2 times a, which is 2. And now from here, I'm going to go ahead and simplify that out. So first I have negative 5. When I have two negatives together, they cancel each other out, and I really just get a positive 5. So you can kind of think of this negative b as saying opposite of b. So since my b is negative 5, I take the opposite of it, which is positive 5. So minus negative 5 squared. The reason why I need the parentheses is that I'm taking a square of a negative number. And so I'm doing negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25. Minus 4 times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. All over 2 times 2, which is 4. Next, I'm going to go ahead and simplify inside of my radical here. So I'll have 5 plus or minus 25 minus 24 is 1. Well, the square root of 1 is just 1, so I'll have 5 plus or minus 1 over 4. And now here I'm going to split this off into two different answers. So this plus or minus, that really just means I'm going to have either 5 plus 1 over 4, or I'm going to have 5 minus 1 over 4. So for instance, if I had plus or minus 3, that's the same thing as 3 and negative 3. So I split that off into two separate problems. And so when I do this, 5 plus 1 is 6, which this is just going to equal 1.5. 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And so my answers here are x is equal to 1 and 1.5.